The other big game this weekend, New Orleans Saints, they travel outdoors to the Chicago Bears. Saints are 4.5-point favorites. Their first outdoor game of the year. Bears offense struggling, but the defense has kept it close. I want to see what the Saints offense does. Rumored 15 to 20 mile an hour winds. Will that actually affect Drew Brees and throwing the ball, or do they throw underneath enough that it doesn't matter?
That's the thing. The great thing is you don't throw the ball far enough for the wind to be a problem.
Yeah.
Unless Drew Brees' arm is so bad that the wind actually affects an 8-yard pass. And I mean 8 yards is in actual travel distance, not 8 yards down the field.
Right.
Just 8 yards from point to point. The other thing is, like, at this point, the only offensive weapon remaining for New Orleans is Kamara. Everybody's hurt or COVID or something, right? Nobody's playing. It's Kamara and the end. I mean,
Michael Thomas hurt again. Still questionable. He's questionable once again. Marquez Callaway, who did have a really nice game last week, he's banged up. Emmanuel
Sanders on the COVID list, I think.
What's that?
Sanders on the COVID.
Oh, he's on the COVID list.
And is out for 2 games, so this will be the second. I know we've joked that their offense is Kamara. Let's get it to Kamara and let him break tackles, and that's it. It might have to be. There's nobody else. It's him and Jared Cook. The end.
And that becomes, Roquan Smith, the Bears linebacker. He's got to be leading the league and really popping offensive players with the ball, but not actually tackling them. That's been happening the last few weeks. He's absolutely crushing people who are just spinning off him. And that's Kamara's game. Nobody gets a straight shot on Kamara. So this is one of those, you drafted Roquan Smith in the first round for games like this. Take out this back because you're one of the few linebackers that has the athleticism to match up with him. So that'll be a key matchup in this one.
Does it feel like we're also due a non-crappy Nick Foles game?
I don't know if we are.
No?
I think, I don't know. If those 2 great games that he had didn't happen in the NFC Championship and the Super Bowl, right? Is Nick Foles closer to Blake Bortles than he is whatever we've been describing him to be? Which we've been describing him as like Matthew Stafford light. Like a couple times a year you see greatness, but maybe that greatness just happened to have occur in the 2 most important games of the 2017 season.
They definitely did, but even outside of those 2 games, his range of outcomes is way broader than it's been so far. Like the impressive thing now is that every game he's played has been graded in the 60s, except for the last one in the 50s. Like he's actually been bang on rank average.
But this was Jameis the last couple of years. We always talked about Jameis as a roller coaster ride,
right.
But his 4 season grades that we have for him all ended up in the same range.
But it's
a roller coaster ride to the same destination.
But his ended up at the same grade at the end of every season. Foles is grading the same every game, even if within the game it's like he's not having.
Maybe he's due for a dud.
No, the dud was last week.
30.
The dud was the Rams game.
I've seen much worse than that.
Of course, he's capable of worse, but that was a bad game. I'm just saying that so far, where's the good Nick Foles?
I don't know, but the Bears with Allen Robinson and Darnell Mooney, who torched Jalen Ramsey for what should have been a 70-yarder, and Foles couldn't get it to him. He's under pressure. Darnell Mooney has been getting open behind the defense. 4.3 speedster that the fantasy folks are just waiting to break out if somebody can get him the ball. I think the Bears have the horses to compete. It's just not there right now. The connection's just not there. When they're open, there's pressure or Foles is missing them. Foles makes a great play. It's not getting caught. It's just not connecting right now for the Bears.
Well, this is kind of my point, right? Like it feels like we're due the upswing of a Nick Foles roller coaster at some point because the plays are there to be made and he's not making them right now.
Saints have had some issues on the back end. There was a bad coverage bust last week that led to a big touchdown by the Panthers. So that's a factor as well. I'm leaning more toward, I always joke about the indoor-outdoor thing, and you look at it from the lens of the quarterback. I don't think we appreciate enough how difficult it is to play defense indoors 10, 11, 12 games a year. There's a reason why I don't think you see like Peyton Manning's Colts or Breeze and the Saints. Like you don't look back and like, look at that great defense, and it's an indoor team, right? It's a lot of Northeast teams and, AFC North, NFC North types of teams. It does matter. So I wonder if this is actually a turning point or just a game where the Saints D looks a lot better going up against the Bears here with the swirling winds.
Yes, the swirling winds.
I think it's a low score. I think it's a low scoring for today's NFL, 20-17 type of game.
It's a great test for this new version of Drew Brees. The 2 sliders cranked all the way up. Anticipation and accuracy. This is going to put that to a test. Now you're outdoors. You only have Kamara basically to play with. Your weapons are even more diminished than they were before. Can Drew Brees still be pinpoint accurate? And it's just, can he thread that needle? Because that's what you're doing at that point. Your margin for error is so small. You basically have to hit every single thing you're aiming for because you're trying to do this in excruciating increments. And so far, the last few weeks, he's been really good at that. This makes it harder. You're going up against a harder defense. You've got fewer weapons, and it's outside.
Yeah, last week he hit those 2 deep outs I think I talked about on Monday. And it's the proxy for arm strength, but not the way Brees throws it. It was anticipation. It was accuracy. It was also just pre-snap recognition. I know
it's absurd how
the corner's off. The curl flat defender is going to give me some room. I'm going to throw it early and get it there. I don't think he tries that throw in Chicago, though. I don't think he's going to even try.
If he does, I think it's picked off.
Yeah, an 18-yard deep out. I don't care how early you throw it if it is that bad weather-wise. I don't think we're overrating the weather component, but I just think there's a comfort level that Brees has indoors in general, but at home, and it's just going to be interesting to see. Here we are, in November. They haven't played outdoors until November. It is fascinating. So I think the Saints are still the better team. I think the Bears their record is inflated, right? I mean, they're not really 5-2, and they started to come back down to earth Monday night against the Rams.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Monday night was a mess of a game for them. Like, that was a disaster, and I think they're better than that. I don't necessarily buy into this idea that they were a complete fraud team. I think there's still something to this idea that they are a good roster that's being held back by the fact that their quarterback has not been amazing yet. Now, it turns out that might actually be way more unlikely to happen than people were anticipating. But I'm still saying, like, at some point, they're going to connect on those big plays that are there, and they're just not finding. Like, if Foles did have a half beat longer, that's a touchdown off the back, like from the shadow of your own end zone. Like, those are big game swinging plays.
So you think those plays are going to, at some point, they're going to swing?
They're missing too many of them at the moment for that to continue. Like, at some point, that has to swing back in your direction just through natural chance.
For the Saints, Teron Armstead, the left tackle, outstanding left tackle, came out of the game against the Panthers. He's also questionable. I also would not be surprised, as quickly as Brees likes to get rid of the ball, if Hakeem Hicks, who's been pretty good, and Khalil Mack, who's back to form, 90.7 pass rush grade, I could see them causing some problems, even with the quick passing game for the Saints. So if we come in here on Monday night and it was like, hey man, that Bears D-line really dominated, wouldn't be surprised by that as well. I will lean Saints, though. I think their defense is going to look a lot better in this one, and I don't know if the Bears are ready to hit on those plays that they've been missing on, Sam.
Yeah, I'm still picking the Saints. I'm off the Bears train since they let me down on Monday night.
It's about time.
Thanks for watching the PFF YouTube channel, and if you want to subscribe, all you have to do is push the button. Don't forget everything you get. A little fantasy, push the button. A little green line for the gambling aspects of the game, push the button. College football, push the button. The YouTube channel from PFF.